There was basically a survey that we did, and I think my presentation links nicely this part, which is training, and the next one, which has to do about safety. So this survey was done mainly on safety. However, we came up with some interesting results on training where I'm going to touch upon. And of course, it touches upon crew, as somebody would assume. Now, why are we doing this? I mean, yes, class society, coming here to talk about training. No, I will not have any slides on maritime academies, that's for sure. No, I will not have any slides on our courses. The point here is that we thought that, okay, class societies are always thought of contributing to safety through our technical work, classification, and service, and so forth. But we said, okay, this is what we think, and probably some of our friends and people in the crowd think, yeah, we contribute to that. But what does the industry really think about it? I mean, if we go out and ask 50 of the biggest companies, will they say, yeah, safety is okay, but yeah, I'm dealing now with the brokers. So basically, we said, okay, let's have a look. Is safety really improving? And just a message here to the speakers on the next panel. I will not ruin their thunder, so to speak. So we have not improved as an industry that dramatically safety over the years. So this is what some statistics tell us, and many people start talking about, and I think Colin already mentioned things about safety culture, and I know that in the next panel people will really dive into that they know these things even better. But when we talk about safety, we talk about people. I mean, we're talking about how people feel, what people do, what an organization has, and so forth. So in this survey that we did, we had some questions that were multiple questions and some that were basically free text. So we said, okay, let's throw this in the basket, see how everyone will react. So we had the question, if you had an extra $50,000 you just found them on the gangway, gift from heaven or something, which they were saying you have to invest it in safety, how would you spend this money? I mean, what would you do? Buy more life jackets or something, more helmets? What would you do? And there was a free text, so they had a nice little machine. Digitalization is the key word here, so we did a little bit magic and tried to pile together the words that came up more frequently. So these are the words that appear bigger in the text. So surprisingly, most of the replies had to do about training. Safety training are directly linked. We would spend this money on training, and mainly crew, and then a little bit less on equipment and on board and so forth. Somebody will say, well, did you have that hard to think about it? Well, no, but as I said, it's one thing to see what we think as a class society, and it's a different thing to get a collective ideas and perspective from all the big shipping companies around the world. So who replied these things? I mean, did we went around to 10 companies? Actually, we asked different people in different shipping companies. So we had basically something more than 40 companies in Greece. And as you can see, Norway and Germany also participated in this. Actually, Greece was the first country that we ran the survey, and then the others were a little bit jealous, and we're proud of that. So these 40 companies were basically among the biggest, among the ones in Greece with the biggest fleets around. So a lot of competence and experience there. And the responsibility of the people that replied were actually in management, in technical part, but also in HSQE. So I think we got a fairly nice reply from the different, let's say, disciplines and areas from a shipping company. Now, there are many replies, and I will not go into this presentation into everything, so focus only on training. The reply was, surprise, surprise, that actually safety, yes, is a major concern. They don't consider it crucial, but as such only, but it's a major concern for all big shipping companies. And basically from Greece, a large percentage of them, actually the highest, said that actually they feel really strong about the fatality rate in shipping and how things are developing. So safety, they said, yes, it's a competitive differentiator. Okay, that was interesting actually for us. 80% of the respondents of all the shipping companies said, well, I consider safety not only a matter of compliance, but also a matter of competitive advantage for my company. And as you can see, most of them were basically strongly or feeling very strongly about that. And this is where we link it with training. And this is the interesting part. At the beginning, we said, okay, yes, everybody feels important about safety, and yes, they will do training, but okay, let's be honest, who should be responsible for that? Would it be the class societies? Would it be training centers and so forth? Actually, out of all the respondents that came back, an interesting reply came in. The highest, because this was a multiple choice answer, actually in the question, to what extent do you consider the following stakeholders to be driving safety at sea, it was actually the first one, the owner. The owners themselves rated themselves as the one that should drive things to be safe. And followed by IMO and class societies. And of course, and this is where we come down to, in order to do that, everybody said that there is one key element here, and that's the crew. No matter what we say, no matter what we do, and the two other speakers already addressed it, the crew is the one that in every shipping company, at least I go to, if we sit down and have a coffee, everybody will take me aside and say, George, okay, but beyond all the things that we said, how are the other companies, our competitors are managing crew? How are they doing it? How are they dealing with training? I mean, nobody has the golden reply, the golden key. Everybody is doing training here and then, and everybody's trying to improve things, and I'm afraid they don't have the answer here either. Come on. There we go. So one of the questions was, to what extent do you consider the following issues to be of a safety concern? And there were many things listed, as you can see, some technical, all these things. And the top things that were rated were actually human factors. They didn't say that in terms of safety, the low freight rates is a problem, or fire and explosions, or the bad weather, or cyber threats. Well, not until when the survey was done. The top things were actually human-related things. It was the human factor that it was mentioned earlier. And this poor safety culture, communication, insufficient crew competence, and here many can argue if it's competency or training and so forth. That's a big chapter as well. And these are the things that basically the owners focused on. So basically we see that training is important, but not only because people have to do their job, it's because it affects so many other things. And one of them is, of course, the safety aspects. So in your mind, in the question, in the mind of the respondents, what are the key barriers for improving safety at sea? So what is the thing that actually makes a company to have certain problems in moving ahead and improving the safety of their ship, the operation, everything? Again, it was a free text, so everybody could put their answer in whatever words they liked, and then this little machine basically piled up everything together, and the biggest words in the text are the ones that came more frequently. And again, it was culture, training, or lack of training, crew. There is, of course, an element on the ashore personnel, but mainly it's the matter of the crew and the training, culture, regulations, and rules, of course, that come in. So the safety culture and the lack of crew training, as well as linked with high costs, were considered as the key barriers there of improving the safety at sea. Now, as I said, because this was a survey, don't expect from me to tell you, and in order to solve this, do that. It was just a survey, and we wanted to see how the industry feels, what the industry does, what is like a temperature check. Because basically, although our core values are basically to safeguard life, property, and environment, we see that basically pure training, just to send a crew to do a couple of courses or to get a competence element, is not enough. It has to do with having the ability to do it, and it needs something more. And actually, we're going to take some steps in the months to come in order to address this topic, because we believe that basically technical matters from a class point of view are well enough covered. Maybe we should start touching a little bit things like training, soft issues, and so forth. So we will move in that part a little bit, because our organization believes that safety at sea is something that we have not addressed so deeply yet in the industry. And with that, and with ample time for your questions, Apostole, I close my presentation. Thank you for your attention.